This is the Sport Fishing Championship.
And this is the second day of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic, the fifth stop on the Sport Fishing Championship Tour. You see that fleet as they were prepared to head out on the first day. 78 boats from Point Cadet Marina took off yesterday at 11 a.m. in the morning, looking for the big billfish, the big blue marlin. 11 different events in the SFC, 2 different divisions, whether it be the Gulf or the Atlantic. You got to fish at least 3 events to qualify as an SFC team. Now, the top 20 teams in each event will get event points. We add those with their catch points, and they all add up in trying to get that $1 million prize that's the end of this bill fishing rainbow. Again, we're glad you can be a part of it. It's the second day of 3 days of competition. I'm Robbie Floyd with the champ, Peter Miller. And day one, Peter, they caught them. As soon as they made a few hours run out, we started seeing some catches.
Looks like a tight race there. The numbers are really close. That's going to be kind of a photo finish to see who got that first blue marlin on time. We don't know for sure, so we'll have to find that out in a couple days.
It Just Takes Time's caught the first fish of the tournament. It was a white marlin. Now that's something we're going to see here, as well as different species, the whites, the blues, as well as sailfish. But again, these are the updates throughout the day, and several fish being caught with a limited window. Again, you take off at 11, you still have, 3, maybe even 4 hours running time before you can even put lines in the water.
That's right. Some of these guys are stopping short, and they're putting the baits out right away to see if they can knock out a blue marlin or white, and then they're going to run to their chosen grounds, and hopefully they find the big blue marlin. Some of these guys have 2 to 3 fuel bladders with 250 gallons each, and they also hold 2,000 gallons of fuel in their holds as well. So it's a lot of fuel. They're sparing no expense.
Absolutely. The Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic takes off from Biloxi, Mississippi. It's kind of a fisherman's paradise as well as a gambling paradise. You can take care of the craps tables as well as roll the dice out there on the waters. But the water is very familiar, Peter. We've seen this at 2 of our previous Gulf events. These boxes haven't changed. Do you go to the same areas that you had success on in prior events?
Well, I think it changes from week to week, and the barometric pressures and the currents and the water temps. It's a lot to do with everything, and you want to find that bait, so you got to do a lot of research, Robbie.
Welcome inside our studios. He's the champ. I'm nobody. I'm Robbie Floyd. He's Peter Miller. You've done this 3 times, winning those sailfish championships. We're trying to crown our first ever sport fishing champion. A lot of money's on the line, that $1 million prize for our SFC champion. But also think about this event, Peter. A lot of money, millions of dollars are on the line from this individual event. I mean, that winner could take home a ton of cash.
You're not kidding. I mean, when you're talking about $1 million on the line, I mean, why wouldn't you want to do this? But you also got to put up a lot of money to get involved in this specific tournament. But I heard there's over $1.3 million in this tournament alone, and then we have our own SFC, which is worth $1.3 million if you win the entire thing. So imagine winning both of those. It's exciting.
Absolutely. In different fish categories, we'll break that down throughout the day. Let's take a look at our Sport Fishing Championship points, because again, it is about points at the end of the season. And we said we take your best 3 events, but all those catch points add up, and those totals are what kind of puts you in position to win that $1 million. Southern Charm, look at their event points are what does it. You know, you get 3,500 for a win. They've got 3rd in 2 different stops. So you add on to that with their catch points, that's why they're on top. Consistency.
Consistency is key in any of these events, and if you can keep being at the top of the leaderboard throughout all the events, you're going to wind out on top at the end.
And again, Moncherie, a winner already this year that, they took 5,600 points. That's why they're there, but they didn't back it up with another solid tournament. But Southern Charm, they're one of the teams to look for. We were able to catch up with them yesterday and throughout the week and find out a little bit more about them. But how did they get in this position being on top? Again, the Southern Charm with that 3rd place at the first stop, that was in Venice, but similar waters they may be going to today.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going for it, and they're on the fish. They seem to be very consistent, like we discussed, and they're a well-oiled machine, always winding and catching and doing what needs to be done to get those points on the board.
In Venice was a big event. It was our very first event. 23 blue marlin, caught 1 white marlin, but that 3rd place and those points, that's what got them, in the running. And we moved on to the 2nd stop of the Gulf Division, where Quantified took the win. But again, another 3rd place in Orange Beach. Gulf Coast Masters did them well as well. Again, Southern Charm with 7,700 points. They not only lead the Gulf, they lead the overall. We caught up with them.
We finished second place tag and release last year, hoping for the same, hoping for a better outcome. We do the same thing every week. We prepare, we start over. It's like a new game, a new day. Nothing in the past matters anymore. It's time to get after it again and do it again.
As an owner and as a team, you want to be the best at everything you do. And that's our focus. And if we need to go travel to other regions to garner more points, we're going to do that. But we're focused on how do we win this each and every week.
Every day's a tournament. Every day we wake up, we got to catch the most we can today. And then tomorrow's another day. We start over. We forget about that. Friday morning, it's another day. Here we go. Let's do it again. Saturday, it's a new tournament. Let's do it again.
We're excited. This is a great event, the Sport Fishing Championship, and it really highlights what we do. We've sat and talked about what it took to win this and really what we needed to do. And we've even considered fishing the East Coast. We're obviously going to look at fishing the Texas tournament as well. I've got a good friend of mine that has a boat that's fished all the East Coast tournaments, and he gladly said, we'll rename it Southern Charm, and y'all come up here and jump on the boat. So that was a discussion I had yesterday.
We got the momentum. We got the good juju going. We're flowing as a team. We're just going to keep on going. Hopefully, we keep catching.
I love hearing that, Peter, them talking about not only fishing and concerning themselves with the Gulf, but also the possibility of fishing the Atlantic, and they're quite capable of doing so.
Which leads us to the next moment, which I believe Southern Charm is all in.
Oh, speaking of that, our other team out there is all in. They didn't do well at the first stop, but they backed that up with a 9th place finish at Orange Beach. I think they had one blue marlin, but again, all of those points count. We see where they are generally out on this body of water, and the things that they're going to in the Gulf of Mexico are the rigs, are the platforms, whether it be for bait fish or the big billfish.
That's right. We know there's going to be bait laying up in there, and they have the tubes, and they're filling those tubes as best they can. You want to have every one of those tubes filled, and then you can deploy those baits around the rigs where the marlin are hunting for those particular baits.
And you see how they're working those fish in. You got to have the bait fish to catch the big billfish. We caught up with Team All In as well.
We normally like to hang around the back of the pack because this is one of the smaller boats to fish the tournament. So we put a lot of fuel in the back deck, and when we're out here jumping boat wakes and things like that, we have to be real careful with those bladders because they'll have a tendency to get where you don't want to. But we're gonna fish where we feel conditions are most conducive for what we're trying to do. Honestly, the water temp is it's really kind of between 81, 82. Most of these places we're fishing, temperatures are kind of the same. That loop is kind of pushed in here a little tighter. I don't know if that's what's maybe regulating the water temp and stuff, but there's again that good water temp is kind of all over from DeSoto Canyon to Green Canyon. We're going to target blue marlins. We're probably not going to stay in here as tight this weekend as what we have the last couple of weekends, just because we have so many boats fishing. But there's been some fish spread all over, so I'm sure you'll have some. You're going to have boats all over. I just want to put this boat where we can maximize catching the most blue marlin that we can. If we can put this boat in the right place, if we can catch the fish that we get bit with, that's how we have to do it day by day. And but the end goal is to win. The end goal is to win this tournament. And then after that, we're moving on to the next one. But we all have to take this one. We have to take them one at a time. It kind of builds into the next one and into the next one. And we have full intention on going out there and fishing hard. And we always go out there looking for a win. We have full intention on trying to win this one, and then the next one, and then hopefully we get to end up in South Padre and get to finish up with you guys.
Whether it be Captain Blake, Carson, Noah, Greg, or Chad on that boat, you see what it takes just to get the bait for the billfish. Most people, most fans would just love to do that.
This is science. This isn't just fishing. This is not a crapshoot. Even though they're gambling in Biloxi and playing craps and playing blackjack, this is for real, and they're using science. They're using everything available to them to target the species they're after, which is the big blue marlin.
Absolutely. These anglers are passionate. This is definitely a competition, and right now necessity is leading this competition with 2 blue marlin on the board in the first day of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. You can see this is not going to be a slow day. It's not going to be like some events. They're going to catch them this week. I got a good feeling.
Oh yeah, the boards lit up last night as we watched them catch their fish when they got to their final destinations, and the bite is on, Robbie.
The blues are to be had here at the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. Stick with us on SportFishingChampionship.com.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in. Plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
Remember, everything begins in the morning. Every story told is a fisherman's tale. We build watches tough enough to be a part of that tale. The perfect balance of beauty and brawn. We are Seaholm. Watches that last a lifetime. Seaholm Automatic, the official timepiece of the Sport Fishing Championship.
See it, live it, love it. The largest in-water boat show in the world, the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. More than 3 million square feet, fishing boats to super yachts, engines, accessories, learning experiences, and culinary delights. Save the dates, October 26th through 30th. Details at flibs.com.
It all comes back to the water. This binding agent. This fluid history of connection. Past, present, and future, all tied together through this never-ending, unwavering force. We belong to a community of seekers, anglers, and everyone in between. For us, it's more than fishing, much more. It's who we are, who we were, and who we aspire to be. We are Smith.
SFC coverage of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic is sponsored by Salt Life, by Seaholm Watches, and by Smith Optics.
We always say each and every stop of the Sport Fishing Championship, we're living that salt life, and it's beautiful when the salt life brings you to the casinos and the excitement of Biloxi, Mississippi for the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. There are a ton of things to do here, Peter Miller. I mean, whether you take a ride, a little party cruise, have a dinner out there on the water, come back, hit the casinos, the hotels. I go to minor league baseball games across the street. It doesn't get much better.
You've got a little bit of everything there, and you can bring the whole family to that area to enjoy it all and catch those big blue marlin, those white marlin, and those sailfish.
I have to tell you, though, we don't have as many things to do in our studio as our partner, Ronnie Moore, does at Biloxi and whatever event he may come to. Welcome, everyone, inside our SFC studios. Peter, we're seeing a lot of catches today. Let's go out on the scene where the weather has always been perfect for most of the year, to a not so bad Ronnie Moore. Ronnie, good job. You brought some better skies today.
I would say it's a little bit of a mix, Robbie. The weather is a little worse when I'm in town compared to the Gale Force Twins, but I will say today it is sustained 20 to 25 mile an hour winds. They were from the east when I got here an hour ago. Now they're directly from the south, but I looked at the Wind Finder app. I looked at all the charts, the different hill navigators, and all of those wind directions where the anglers and the teams are fishing out in Louisiana and off the coast of there. It's all still from the west, so the conditions where the teams are is pretty similar. But here in Biloxi, it is circling. It is definitely getting close to hurricane season.
Hey, Ronnie, always on site with Site One. One thing I noticed is the timing, and you're there with the officials around that area, the timing of our first catches with that blue marlin, because it's so important. You've talked about it. Peter's talked about it. That first marlin is very key because you get that extra 100 bonus points. They're going to have to wait till it's all over to find that exact timestamp, aren't they?
Yeah, our guy Matt Klosterman came up to me and said, "Did you see what happened?" And I said, "What?" And he told me exactly that 2 or 3 teams had the same time frame for the first blue marlin catch, and that could be a rough estimate. The last clock they could have seen is 5:30, and that could be the time that they remembered, but it's 5:31, and that could be the difference in 100 bonus points. So I do know it's going to be a photo finish when we get here. It'll be interesting to see those teams who caught the first blue marlin. If they end up being tied at the end of the week, that could be the difference maker in winning this event, getting the top catch points for the week, getting the top finishing points, and obviously taking home significantly more money for winning than second place here at the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic.
That could be 1 second that would differentiate the money in their full pockets or not. So that's really critical to find out who caught that first Billfish first.
100%, Peter. And some of these teams, they said it specifically in those pre-tournament interviews that I had with them. They said, hey, some guys say their boat goes 36 knots, but they're just overcompensating. It actually goes 32, 33. Some teams were like, our boat actually does 36 for these conditions, which tells me they were going to head as fast as they could to their proving grounds to try to get that blue marlin on the board first. But hey, Robbie, we saw it, and Peter, we also saw it with Team Quantified last event. The guys who caught blue marlin, they take that early advantage, but guys who are mixing in whites and sails, if they do catch 1 or 2 blue marlin, it'll be wide open for them in the top of the leaderboard.
That's exactly right. And Ronnie, as we were watching the boats take off yesterday, it was a mass exodus, a little bit of a staggered start for some that were turning right or heading west towards Texas. They got to leave a little earlier than the guys who were maybe going straight ahead or towards the left. But the thing is, and you touched upon it, our first catch of the day is we even see one of our young anglers out there who we had Tucker Wade, that's right, on Bandito. We've got all varieties of anglers, but we're seeing 3 different species of fish being caught, and our first one caught yesterday was a white marlin.
Yeah, so there's no bonus points, Robbie, for a white marlin, but they do get you on the leaderboard first, and it just takes time. And they're the defending champions of this event. It kind of had some chills go down my spine that the defending champions of this event got out to a quick start and caught the first fish. Obviously, we know teams that catch the first fish sometimes it doesn't translate into a win later on, but it had to feel good for them, maybe trying to go back-to-back in this event. There's so many teams that have an advantage here. This is the 26th annual event here in Biloxi, and some of these teams have fished 25 years of the 26, and that was like Team Molly. Then I talked to Team Blueprint. They're a local Biloxi team. They would want nothing more than to take it home on their home playing grounds this week. Some teams come up from a long ways away just to be in this event. We obviously have the biggest field so far this year, so the first fish is big, but we have a lot of teams who dedicate a lot of their season for this one event.
Ronnie, before we leave you, I know you were probably sipping on the Diet Cokes throughout the night. Did you ever hit the casino tables? Are you up? Are you down? Where are you sitting as far as your gambling this week?
Robbie, my gambling perspective when it comes to winning and losing money is I like to leave town with the same amount of money I came into town with. So I walked past them. I saw the highs and the lows, the momentum swings for those people. I know that there's a high risk, high reward out on the water as well, and we'll see some momentum swings out there. But I'm not going to be at the craps table. I'm not pulling any of the deals at all. I'm going to keep it in my pocket, and we're going to keep watching the leaderboard as teams gain money on our live leaderboard.
Thanks a lot, Ronnie. Again, Ronnie on site with Site One. Let's take a look at the Gulf Division. Peter, I don't think we would look at it quite the same. I think we would probably do a little chance at night and then, they come on camera during the day.
You gotta gamble a little bit. Everyone here is gambling. Let's gamble a little bit. Come on.
Gulf Division at Southern Charm. We saw when they were leading the overall. We knew they'd be leading the Gulf. But Mont Cherie, I say consistency can win you that championship. They're trying to drop that bad taste in their mouth from the second stop at Orange Beach because that event points, that's what's kind of got them back just a little bit. But again, we take their best 3 points. I think Moncherie has a lot of room for improvement.
That's right. And then, of course, you got Quantified. That's all over the charts. They're catching whites. They're catching sailfish. They're catching blue marlin. They're covering all their bases. And look where they are. They're sitting there in third in the overall division, the Gulf.
And the first event in the Venice was a big one. A lot of blue marlin caught. You even see Breathe Easy in the top 5 after not doing well on the second stop. They're another team to look for. My sources say they're going to be one that's there at the end.
Yeah, when you look at this setup, when you have Bandito out there and you're looking at all these grids of where people are going to be fishing, you got to know that they're going to be running 200, 300 miles offshore, so they have to have enough fuel, so they have to calculate it perfectly.
Again, Bandito, one of our teams that had a good event and a not so good event. Bandito kind of means bandit in Spanish. They were robbed at the first stop, in the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. We were on board. We saw them. We saw them with fish on the line, but we didn't see a catch and release. That wasn't the case at Orange Beach. They caught them.
Yeah, we get pretty excited on this boat. We do. At least I do a lot of yelling, and they do a lot of they do some yelling back. But it's exciting. I mean, we have a good time, and we're owner-operator program, fishing with a bunch of friends. So we get fired up, and it's always nice to catch the first one. It's if you catch the first one, it's like catching 2. Somebody's got to catch 2 to beat you. So it definitely helps out. So we kind of talked about it this morning. We're going to do try to do the same thing again. We're going to stop short, fish a little while, and then make our move tomorrow night.
He's on the corner. He's on the corner. Yeah. I know. He's on it, baby.
Let him eat.
Oh, God, he's right behind the boat. Oh.
Yeah, we've been Bobby and I have been partners for 5 years. We're on our second boat together, and we've had basically the same crew since we started. A few folks in and out from there, but otherwise it's been pretty much the same people in the program. And so it's not. I mean, everybody kind of knows what to do and how to do it, and we fine tune some things as we go. But we just like I said, a group of friends fishing together, enjoy it, have a good time, and we've been working hard at it, so hopefully it'll pay off.
I got you. Boom! Tag, baby. You want to see that?
Pull his head up, Poncho. All right, cut her loose.
Hell yeah, guys! All right!
Definitely, we enjoy the money and we enjoy the competition. It's fun. I mean, there's some of the best teams in the world that we're fishing against in the Gulf. This is one of the bigger venues of the year, so it's always nice to go out and compete, and especially when you do well, it makes us feel good. I mean, we get fired up, we're excited about it, and we have a lot of fun.
Rail, go, rail! Rail, go! Boom, baby! All right, guys.
Open the door. I don't know. We have expectations, but we definitely want to win, and we're going to fish hard, and we want to compete. And we want to win $1 million for sure. So we're going to fish hard and do the best we can, and make sure everything right before we leave the dock, and then hope for the best.
Bandito finished second at Orange Beach. Had those 2 blue marlin. The Wade family, they were on it, weren't they? I mean, you get a couple of young bucks out there catching fish. I mean, that's what you love seeing from the outside, knowing that that's what the future lies ahead of us.
And you see how serious they are, yet relaxed, and they love to have a little bit fun in between, because what we always talk about is that fish brings so much levity to the crew that it just becomes a fun day once you get that first fish.
Let's go from the 66-foot Jim Smith to the 63-foot Scarborough, skin deep out there in the Mississippi Canyon. Again, these are general areas. They're 8th, I believe, overall in the Gulf Division, but a 3rd place finish at Orange Beach kind of keeps them in the mix as well. players as the guys were taking off. Ronnie Moore caught up with Team Skin Deep and got a little bit of their perspective on what it's like fishing in the Sport Fishing Championship.
Day one of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic, and we're here with Team Skin Deep owner Chris. Chris, you guys were one of the late guys added to our camera fleet, but you guys are excited to be a part of it. You had a great showing in Orange Beach, which is where you're located out of. You're doing Biloxi. Are you doing any of the other scheduled events this season?
Yeah, we'll fish the ECBC in a couple of weeks, and look forward to being over there in Destin. It's always a good time there.
When it comes to bill fishing, for people who don't know online, I mean, this is a hard sport. You guys have a lot of work put into each and every catch, so every catch is so important, not only for points, but for money, the side bets, and also just the team morale.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have a great crew. I've had Captain Kyle's been on here 4.5 years now, and two mates, Richie and Pittman, are great in the cockpit. They let us relax a little bit, and we're pretty hands-on. We like to get in the cockpit and help make bait, and I'm on a reel most all day, and I like to hook a lot of the fish. That's the fun part for me. So we usually have kids. My son's on board. We let them do the reeling usually, so.
That's pretty awesome. There's also a huge checklist. You guys have to make sure everything's in line because you guys leave the dock today. You're not going to come back until Saturday night. So you have to make sure you have bait, everything's rigged up. Mechanically, you got to make sure the boat's sound as well. And then also tons of fuel. How much fuel do you guys plan to use this week?
Well, we carry 1,400 gallons, and we're carrying a bladder you see here in the cockpit, another 250 gallons. We'll burn that off on the way out today and get that clear off the deck, and we'll have 1,400 gallons to start fishing with late this afternoon.
You got all the checklists done. We're just a few minutes from takeoff, day one of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. I'm Ronnie Moore. That's Skin Deep and owner Chris.
Great job, Ronnie. Good to get some insight from Skin Deep. Again, one of our Gulf Coast competitors. You know, we talk about these oil rigs, the platforms that are out there in the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to go a little more in depth about what is key about these rigs and platforms. Again, it's the Sport Fishing Championship on sportfishingchampionship.com. We're glad you can be a part of it on the second day of 3.
The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation is honored to be the official charity of the Sports Fishing Championship.
SFC.
Through this partnership and the support of donors like you, future generations will enjoy and benefit from a naturally balanced ocean ecosystem. Our education programs, both in the classroom and online, bring to life the work needed to make sure we have clean oceans for decades to come. Join us today at www.ghof.org.
Sometimes saying no can be really difficult. It's hard to set boundaries, to give yourself space and time. Hop water means never having to choose between having fun or missing out. A sparkling hop water full of flavor and packed with mood-boosting benefits that's non-alcoholic with no calories, no carbs, and no sugar. So go out there and get up to no good.
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
It's the simple things. like spending a day at the beach, splashing in the water, playing in the sand, and creating sandcastle masterpieces. Rediscover fun and family on the beautiful white sand beaches of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach.
In my face.
We are working with some amazing venues, over 1,400 boats competing in the SFC tournament events, over 8 states, several countries, but it didn't get much prettier than that. I mean, those were some awesome shots from something that you wouldn't think would be very pretty were pretty beautiful.
Those are the moments where you can really sit back and enjoy what's going on. I have the same grill right there. And boy, when you're cooking out there and you're fishing and you're catching, it is a fun time. There's nothing better than that.
Let's talk about that. Again, when you're out there for 3 days straight, you got to eat. And the prepackaged meals are one thing, but I think they've got a lot of fresh fish they can have. It's not easy for some guys. It's a lot easier for others. Some of these big vessels have full-on galleys, full-on kitchens. If I'm on a 30-foot small boat, I mean, I better have a good game plan because those Lunchables are going to be getting stale after a while.
I'll tell you, these food groups here, we have steak, we got meat, we got fish, we got lobster, shrimp, you name it, Chateaubriand. These guys are cooking it all. They don't mess around. They take their bait catching as seriously as they take their cooking.
And the boat owner, he's probably well versed on not only who the best anglers are, but who the best cooks are. Don't you think?
I mean, it's always the mate. The mate is always the best cook because he's got to do everything. He's on fire. He's got to be firing on all cylinders.
Again, those rigs lit up. We see where Rising Suns are. They one of our top teams in this event. They're hanging around Mississippi Canyon. Different opportunities for these guys to travel to in Biloxi, Mississippi. But again, what they're keying on generally is the bait and those big oil rigs or those platforms. There's hundreds, maybe even thousands of rigs out there. But what makes these rigs and these platforms different than the other ones?
Well, you know, Robbie, what you're going to do is you're going to cruise by and you're going to see what's there and you're going to try to catch these baits. And based on what you find at these rigs or these platforms, that's going to determine whether or not you're going to catch the fish you're after. This may just be a rig to catch bait, and then they go to their next destination. You can see them looking at their fish finder there, and they're watching to see what's coming up, and they got their sabiki rigs out, their quills. They're going to be de-hooking the baits into their bait tubes, and they're just going to continue that because that is the lifeblood behind everything these guys are doing.
Again, this is fun fishing for most, but this is essential if you're going to catch the big billfish. And that doesn't mean that just because they're catching the bait fish here that there aren't billfish just 100 or 200 yards off, because we did see that at our events. They're catching those billfish not too far from these rigs and platforms.
I've learned never to be surprised when I'm fishing an oil rig or a platform because anything can happen at any time. You have to be prepared. They may swim up while you're bringing up a stringer full of baits, and you have to deploy and throw a big bait to them, and maybe you'll hook up while you're catching baits.
Again, you see the baits in the live well down there. You also see what are called tuna tubes where the fish are dropped in vertically. Again, Rising Suns showing us how to get it done on the bait side of things. Also, we have Patron in the mix as well. Fishing the Gulf Division. Again, Patron, one of our camera boat teams. Look like they're a little bit further out than the rest of, or some of the fleet, but look at the equipment that these guys are using. I mean, when we were in the Dominican Republic, you were seeing light line, light reels, light rods. Here, a little different story. They got the big weights for the big baits.
You're not kidding. These guys are rigged and ready, and they have the big crimpers. You got to make sure those crimps are right. You store your leaders and your hooks and your lures perfectly in these containers. Everything has to be in perfect condition and stored perfectly. Otherwise, you're going to struggle when that fish presents itself.
Team Patron finished 9th in Orange Beach. You saw that beautiful boat. In almost every one of our shots, you will see a rig or a platform out there as well. We're also seeing, like in these shots at Sargassum, that's some vegetation that's floating out there on the water. Where you see that, oftentimes you see the smaller fish, big fish hang around that as well.
Yeah, you can see how the current is pushing that up. That's a serious, what you'd call a rip or a current edge, and it's pushing the Sargassum right into it.
As these boats head out in the Gulf of Mexico, got to get that workout in as well. You're having to do that if you're not reeling in a big, several 100-pound blue marlin. We've seen at this event, again, they've been doing this for 26 years. I think 20 years ago, they caught a 1,000-pounder. So there are big fish here. We know they're big fish here. And Team Patron trying to get it done here on this second day. It is a 3-day event. If you don't catch them on day one, you can still fire it up. And Peter Miller, we have seen that happen in the Sport Fishing Championship already this year. Guys that catch them on day one, don't catch them on day two, then catch them. It's okay to be consistent, but you'd love to get in a flurry, whether it be day 1, 2, or 3.
I'll tell you what, our friends at Fish Razor, they dropped off some goodies for us, and here we have one of their Troll Pro cameras, and it has ballast on the bottom. You can put a GoPro in there or a Garmin Verb, and then we have a 32-ounce, 32-ounce lead, which will take it down even deeper. So you could troll this setup at about 8 knots, and that is going to be where you want it to be, running right under your dredge, connected to your dredge, or you can actually put it by your short bait. Now, we have a spreader bar here as well, which we can connect to, and you guys have seen a lot of this. And this is what we're going to be connecting all the squids to. We can connect the camera to this as well. So when the fish come up, you can actually see what's going on.
And it's held tight right now. So
it's held tight, exactly. What you can do is you pop these off, and you pull this off, and it doesn't spring back in my face on camera. That would be a miracle. Let's see if we could do that. There you go. This is heavy duty. This is called the Super Heavy Bars by Fish Razor. This is a monster bar. You can connect 2, 3 of these, and you're going to connect the mud flaps, you're going to connect squids, all kinds of things, and of course your camera. And the nice thing about the camera, this Troll Pro, is that if you go around these rigs, you can actually see what maybe you're missing. It's kind of like watching the tape after a big game. You say, what did we do wrong? What didn't we see? What can we do better? And they might see marlin coming up and looking at this thing. So, hey, let's take a look at the footage, and maybe we'll come back to that rig later because we know there's a couple of marlin hanging out there. So thank you to Fish Razor for providing some of this so we could show you exactly what's going on down there.
It looks good. Looks good now, and you just got to get me and you out of the water. Maybe we'll get that chance at the next stop or the one after that. Or I hear Martha's Vineyard, we might get to go out to that one as well. But let's go from the Gulf to the Atlantic Division. Again, it's 2 different divisions, $100,000 on the line for whoever wins the Gulf or whoever wins the Atlantic. But a different style of fishing. We've seen a lot of white marlin for the Gulf guy or the Atlantic guys when they were down in Dominican Republic. Lesser numbers. This event at St. Augustine got pushed back a little bit, but they still caught them, and we still had a winner. They still got the event points, they still got the catch points, and they're still in it for the championship.
That's right, Robbie. You saw that dredge going out just there. We just talked about it, and that's exactly what they put out. They put out their dredges on those electric reels. They're set to come in and stop when they get to the boat, so you don't have to worry about it ripping the entire rig apart.
Team Half a Buck trying to go back to back. They were strong. They were very strong. After winning last year, they back it up with 3 blue marlin. That's the biggest of, or that's the most of any of our competitive anglers out there, although Pez Vela and Getty Up did catch blues. Pez actually had a sailfish power play in there with the sailfish as well. But when you're Half a Buck, all eyes are on you when they're defending champ.
And then when you have Pez Vela catching a sailfish, you know, Pez Vela in Spanish
is
sailfish, so that's apropos, isn't it?
Yeah, Half a Buck is worth more than a buck after taking the victory there. And again, blue marlin was key. You get 350 points for the blues. You'd have to catch quite a few sails to catch up to that blue marlin total.
Yeah, you definitely want to be focusing on those blues if you can, but a nice sail surprise here and there would be nice. A little, sunset sail. That's what I'm talking about.
And it's not a legal catch until the rod or the leader is up to the rod tip, or actually one of the mates has their hand on that leader. But the celebration at the end, a little jump in the water by the crew. Also, the other thing is, I know it's not a restaurant where you may raise the flag telling you want more, enchiladas, but they can raise that flag and say, I caught 3 blue marlin. That's the pop. That's walking out there with your chest spread out.
That's right. That's flexing on them. That's showing them what's up, and that's what you want to see. And you definitely want to go talk to those guys at the end of the day and see if you can get some knowledge.
And our St. Augustine winners, Half a Buck, they took the win there, and with that 3,500 event points, also the 1,050 catch points, and that puts them in the hunt for the overall on the Atlantic side of things. The thing is, Peter, though, we look at it as Atlantic and Gulf, and they are kind of split, but at the end of the year, we look at them combined, because whether you come from the Atlantic or Gulf, your object or your goal is to get the most points to win that $1 million prize at the end of the year.
That's right.
Let's take a look ahead with Smith Optics at our next stop, the Emerald Coast Blue Marlin Tournament. It's going to be the penultimate round of the Gulf Division. That means next to last, in case you weren't familiar with the penultimate side. I'm making sure. That's how you look at it.
I'm familiar with penultimate.
Okay, I'm just making sure. But then we have Texas at the end of the year, but there's a big gap in between. We're going to be heading to the Atlantic and doing back-to-back-to-back events up there.
That's right. That's a triple zinger. We call it the triple Lindy. So those are going to be some really nice tournaments. And I'm also, I spent a lot of time in the Northeast, caught a lot of fish up there, and I'm looking forward to those events. We've done a lot of golf, love it, but I'm also looking forward to that Atlantic.
Well, on day one, we saw several catches, about 15 total billfish. And let's move on to today's totals. Pearl starts off the day with a released blue marlin. Boy, it's nothing better than, okay, I didn't have a good day one. You know, rise and shine, I can get one right off the bat. And we're going to see that they're going to start catching them here on day number 2.
You're not kidding. I think Pearl's got a little something up their sleeve. I'm feeling good about Pearl.
Catch alerts popping up. It just takes time. Again, started our day, and they pop up again at 10:42. But it's the Blue Marlin by Pearl that puts them on top of the leaderboard. Again, them and Necessity should be tied with 2 blues. But again, does Necessity have that first blue of the tournament or not? That's an extra 100 bonus points.
Robbie, did I call that Pearl? That move they were going to make? Did I see the future?
That's not just a Pearl. That's a gem you just did right there. Miss Ma'am up there as well. There's several teams in the hunt. We're only starting this second day of coverage. You can tune in this afternoon, 6 o'clock Eastern. Ronnie Moore down there on site with Site 1. Peter Miller, he's going to be next to me. Peter, let's do it this afternoon.
All right.
We'll see you then.
SFC coverage of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic is sponsored by Garmin, by the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation, and by St. Augustine and St. Johns County, Florida's historic coast.
A day out on the water could go great, or it could have a few minor setbacks. Things could get rough, or you could lose that $900 smartphone. Whatever the problem, Yugo provides unmatched premium protection for any water sports adventure. Yugo. To get yours, visit YugoWear.com or simply scan the QR code on the screen. And remember, just add water.
Some call it joie de vivre, the joy of life. In Louisiana, it's our way of life. From music that shakes up your senses to food that wakes up your palate. That joy vibrates in every note we play and spices up every meal we serve. So come live life to the fullest. Come one, come y'all, come feed your soul in Louisiana. I'm Sean Ardway, inviting you to plan your trip at LouisianaTravel.com.
So, you want this, but you can't have it without this, or this, or this. Until now, introducing a new way to travel, intranationally. Get all that international charm without ever leaving the country. Right here in St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Get all that culture, all the cuisine from that culture. You're welcome. All the gram-worthy sites from that hashtag culture. Right here at home. St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Travel intranationally.
Slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about!
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
When it comes to performance, comfort, and functionality, we've got you covered. Performance apparel designed by anglers to make your time on the water better than ever. Salt Life, the official apparel sponsor of the Sport Fishing Championship.
SFC coverage of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic is sponsored by Invincible Boats, by Centered Wellness, and by Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism.